So now we come to actually recording the flu vaccination. So in a patient record, if the patient is eligible, you should see under their demographics the little symbol there. If you put your cursor over it, should tell you eligible for influenza vaccination. And also on the patient's home screen, you'll see a eligible for influenza vaccination link as well. If you click on the action, it takes you to the template. If you click on the symbol, it takes you to the template. But what some people like to do is use the F12 Launcher, which is like a shortcut if you've never used this before. If you type in the search box influenza, click on search, you'll find seasonal influenza vaccination, and you can then drag it across to whichever shortcut you want. So if I drag it to F, for example, when I close that, if I now push F12, I can do F, and it launches the flu template for me. So that's quite useful for lots of different templates, for nurses in particular who use regularly the same template for travel vaccinations, for child IMS, and etc, etc. So if the flu symbol for whatever reason isn't showing, you can get to that template quite easily by using your launcher. And the final way to find it is down the bottom search feature. You can just type influenza in there, and it says seasonal influenza vaccination. So you see, when we did it that way, it took us to the home page of the template. But if I just close that again and go to the shortcut, it takes me to the right tab for that patient. So this patient is 80, so it's taken me to the over 65s tab. And depending on the age of the patient, it will take you to the individual tabs for those patients. So a bit of a time saver there, hopefully. Unfortunately, on my screen, I'm on a laptop, so I do have these scroll bars which have appeared following a TPP update, but you shouldn't see those if you're working on a workstation. They are quite useful. I mean, if you're on a small screen, you can use that to scroll up and down, but it just looks a bit odd when you first see it. So on the home screen, you'll see there's links to all the different tabs, but also there's two views that we put on there. One for the reason for the eligibility. So in this case, obviously the patient's over 65. But they've also had diabetic retinopathy. It doesn't look like they're diagnosed with diabetes for some reason, but this is a test patient. And then we have the vaccination history, so if there's any previous vaccinations given, any declines, any allergies, they'll all show there as well. So this patient is over 65, so we can work our way through the template. So we've got the usual advice given, consents, fit for IMS, and we have the invitation codes there as well if you want to use that to record the codes. All the usual contraindications, but you can check for allergies and sensitivities if you really want to at that stage as well. And then we've got a little drop down list for the codes for the health and social care workers, to record those if they're not already recorded. And moving on to the PGT PSDs, so is it giving under a PSD or a PGD? And then we have separate documents that'll take you to those as well. Electronic PSDs, so you can add an electronic PSD, and if you click on the little symbol with the plus to the right, you'll see whatever PSDs are available for this particular patient. So we can just whichever we choose to give, basically. Whether they've declined, and you can record a refusal correctly through the vaccinations node by clicking on that link, and whether it's been given by somebody else, given elsewhere, so by midwife, pharmacist, etc. And there is also a given by other link there as well, which will take you to another way to record those. So you can record those by just adding a read code, but the best way is to add it by adding the vaccination. If you record a vaccination given by other, you should really go to the details and change the event details as well, so that it doesn't record it as given in the practice. because you may end up getting paid for those incorrectly. And then moving down, we have the actual vaccination. So in this case, there are only 2 options, but you've also got the option of using the vaccination templates if you want to set up your own in-house vaccination templates to make it easier for your staff. You can do that, and that will take you to a link to a list of all of your local templates. And again, the support article covers how to set those up if you're not sure how to do that. And then at the bottom of this one, we've got the AF screening options as well, which you don't have to use, but they're there if you want to. So all of the different tabs are set up pretty much similar to those across the top, but the vaccines are specific to those age groups for that tab. And as you can see, they do change as we go across, and so on. And the 4 to 11-year-olds, it should be done as part of the school program unless at risk. So you can vaccinate those that are at risk. And then we've got the cohorts. So there is a tab that explains that the 50 to 64-year-old cohort will be added at a later stage, but they're not currently included in the invitations. And then a resources page with a few links to various guidances, Green Book instructions, NHS employers, NHS England, and you can tick to say a leaflet's been given. You can send an SMS or an email from here if you want to, and these are where the specific NHS England invitation letters have been set up, which have the barcodes linked to them as well for the NHS numbers. One question we are often asked on the support desk is about producing FP10s for seasonal flu vaccinations. You don't need to produce an FP10 as these are an FP34 item, and you can see that by going to the top menu to set up vaccinations and available vaccinations. And this list shows you all the different vaccinations available in System 1, but it shows you the script type as well. So where there's an FP34, this is because it's a large volume item and doesn't require an FP10. And you can see the influenza vaccinations are all labelled with the FP34, so there is no requirement to do an FP10 for these. There is also no requirement to recode a flu vaccination. Many practices think that there is, but there isn't. As long as you record it as a vaccination, it will get picked up by the payment reports in the usual way.